Hi there, it's Liam here from North East Tackle. Down the River Weir today. It's the 10th of March, the Weir's running at about 0.45 at Sunderland Bridge, and I'm down looking for a spring salmon. Probably 6-8 weeks too early, but you never know, I might have a chance. Today I thought I'd go through how I go about my spring salmon fishing. Looking at flies, rods, reels, lines, leaders, tippets, etc. Then we'll move over to the river, we'll do a bit of casting, you never know, we might get lucky. Right, so if we start with the flies, early season salmon fishing on the weir is the same as any salmon fishing anywhere in the UK. You have to get the fly down to the salmon. So this normally means a weighted fly. I use brass and copper tubes, use tungsten cone heads, standard cone heads, all looking to get that fly down. Right, so let's have a look at a few of the patterns. Probably my favourite pattern on the River Weir is a pattern called the scrub. This fly has worked for me in the spring and in the summer, and what I use with this fly is basically the only difference. In the springtime I'm putting this fly on a brass or a copper tube. In the summer I'm tying them on doubles. Moving on, Cascade. Cascade's a brilliant pattern. Lots of yellow, orange and red reel trigger combinations. Big Francis flies work well on the weir. Snedellas. The rod I use is a Reddington Prospector 12-foot 6 for a 6. The grain rating is 450 grain, and it gives you a plus or minus 25 grain. The line I put on the rod is a Scandi short, and I couple that with Rio's 25-pound running line. The reel, I've got a 3.5-inch Lamison here. In the spring it's all catch and release. Make sure you've got a decent pair of forceps with you. I nip down the barbs a little bit on my fulling mill doubles just to make sure the fish go back in a decent condition. For leaders I use the Rio Versi leaders. I go from a 15-foot 7 inches per second will be my fastest sinking leader, then to a 10-foot 7 inches per second. We then move down to a 5.6 inches per second 10-foot. Those two are predominantly the two I would use in the springtime, 5.6 inches per second and 7 inches per second on a 10-foot leader. Obviously that's dependent on how much flows in the water, whether the river's up a touch or not. I use fluorocarbon when I'm salmon fishing. In the spring you don't need to go light at all. I use the Asso Super Fluorocarbon at 8.7 kilo. So let's have a look how I'd approach a pool. On a pool like this, the deepest part of the pool here is on the far side, just along the fast water where it's eddying. That's where the salmon will be if there's a salmon in the pool. So what I'm interested in is get my fly in there in a fishable depth. To do that, put a cast out, put a mend in, even 2 mends, get the leader to really bed down, get that brass or copper fly to get down to where the salmon are. You can move the fly, you can give the fly a figure of 8 or a jig, but again it has to be deep. You have to get the salmon, you have to get the fly down to where they are. Okay, now we'll move on. I'll do a few casts and let's see if we can see if there's anything there. Right, we've looked at the equipment. Let's go over and put it into practice. The fly I've got on at the moment, gold willy gun, about an inch, inch and a half, something like that. Got a bit of an upstream wind coming at me, so what I find on here, probably the easiest, a snap tee. Drop it there, fire it over, put a big mend in, let that fly really dig in, let it get right down with that 7 inches per second 10-foot leader, and now we're working the fly. This wind's swirling a bit. It's now coming from behind me. Drop the fly in front of me, drop it down, bring it round, fire it over. The beauty of these Scandi short heads, they're a halfway house between a Skagit and a Scandi. So on a little river like this where you haven't got much room to cast, they're absolutely ideal. Fly's coming around now, lovely. We'll come around to the dangle. Winds change again. Put a snap tee in, drop it down, and over the fly goes. Again, throw a big upstream mend, let it really dig in. Onto the dangle. Again, winds change direction again. Drop it down in front of me. Bring it round, form the D, over it goes. I'm actually throwing 2 mends in there to get it right down deep. Now I'm going to just give the fly a bit of movement. Just jigging it a bit just to get the fly moving a little bit. As I said earlier, spring salmon are aggressive fish. If they're there, don't be frightened to put a bit of movement into your fly. But the trick is to get the fly deep. That's the trick. Oh well, that's it for today. Weren't too successful. I didn't expect to be this time of year. I'll come down in 6 weeks. Let's see if we can catch a salmon then. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.